Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Idea to Value podcast. I'm your host, Nick Skillicorn, and I'm thrilled to have with me today Rob Lowe. Rob is the head of value creation and marketing at Lego Ventures. Lego, of course, being the world's most popular toy brand, one which I grew up playing with myself, and I think many of you will have as well. Rob, it's wonderful having you here today.
Thanks for having me, Nick. It's great to be here.
Welcome to the Idea to Value podcast, where in every episode we highlight the latest insights into creativity and innovation from experts around the world. I'm your host, Nick Skillicorn. I care about the evidence behind what makes ideas happen, and I've already helped thousands of people just like you through my unique insights into recent scientific findings of how creativity works. I also show you how to turbocharge innovation programs so they finally deliver on the value and ideas you've been struggling to execute. Get your free training on how creativity can be improved by registering now at www.ideatovalue.com. Now let's get on with today's episode. So what does it mean to be the head of value creation and marketing? And what exactly is Lego Ventures?
Yeah, I mean, head of value creation is a slightly weird job title, so I probably need to elaborate on that a little bit. I'll kick off with Lego Ventures itself, though. So Lego Ventures has been around for a year and a half, couple of years. It's actually a separate entity to the Lego group that sits in the kind of wider Lego family of companies. Its purpose is to take the core DNA of the Lego idea, the concept of how play can be a great basis for learning, and also the kind of systematic creativity that you find at the heart of the Lego brick, and explore other executions of that, other ways in which kids and other people can learn through playful activity, other business models that can work to kind of bring value to both the consumer and the company, and invest essentially in startups and entrepreneurs that are doing interesting things in those spaces. So that's our kind of mission, if you like. We are kind of a corporate VC, corporate venture capitalist fund, I guess, in some ways. But we're a little bit different because we're family owned as a company. So we don't have a fund as such. We're also doing it for more strategic reasons than financial ones. We're very lucky as Lego to have a very strong core business. So there is no kind of burning platform in that sense. But what we want to do is to expand the idea of learning through play as broadly as we can. And that means looking into areas like education, gaming, and various forms of digital play, where you will find different forms of creativity. And our job is to help stimulate and grow those in the future.
It's interesting you mentioned creativity, because that's one of the core things that I think a lot of people who grew up playing with Legos associate with the company. And I was just wondering, is it all a facade? Is Lego really this corporate behemoth behind the scenes, or is creativity really part of the corporate culture as well?
It really is. I spent 5 years at Lego before I moved over to Lego Ventures. And it's based funnily enough, it's based in Billund, which is a rural Danish town. Everything is Lego there. The airport was built by Lego. It's like it's not, the offices aren't actually built of Lego, which is what most people ask me, but it's very prevalent. It's very much the town that belongs to the family, and the family help grow. And when you walk into kind of Innovation House, which is where the designers work, they have banks and banks of bricks that they pull from to when they design the creations. There are always weird and wacky, amazing ways that they're using the bricks to design. And it's hugely inspirational. And it is a company that thrives on innovation, also because of the family vision and the family mandate to be, to inspire and develop the builders of tomorrow. They really believe in that, and believe in a kind of in a mission beyond just kind of creating more revenue or driving the business upwards. It's how many kids can we reach, because we truly believe that Lego is a product that can have a positive impact on their lives. So that kind of really flows through the company everywhere, and also flows into Lego Ventures as well. For sure, we share the core DNA of the company, even though we're looking away from the brick, as opposed to kind of innovating around the brick.
It's interesting you say that you are not just looking at the core item that everyone associates with the business, because when you describe the mission, it's learning through play. There's more than one way to play. So can you just take us through the sort of mindset and decision making of what makes an investment appealing for Lego Ventures?
Yeah, I mean it's many layered and multifaceted. Um, there are probably two main areas that we look into. One is, if you think about education right now, both education at school and then education at home, it's still very regimented. It's still largely based on testing that is somewhat kind of one-dimensional. And there is a lot of research now that shows that kind of project-based learning, open-ended learning, failure-based learning, allowing kids to create, build, destroy, try again, not just in artistic and creative pursuits, but in any pursuit, to debate, is actually a better way for them to learn. It goes into their mind better, they enjoy it, they remember it more easily. But the foundations for education are not set up for that. So one of the things that Lego Ventures wants to do is to help build the foundations for that type of teaching, to give kids the 21st century skills they need to kind of thrive in a very different world in 10, 15, 20 years time. And essentially build those foundations and invest in companies and people that are trying to integrate that into the way people learn today. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is around the creativity that comes with Lego Play itself, the idea of creating, building stories out using the Lego bricks, so kind of role playing, understanding both the physics of how to build something stable, but then also, the ability of creating something beautiful that may not look like an elephant, but in your mind it is an elephant. Again, Lego bricks are not the only way you can do that. And that is true because we can see it in many different forms, in many different media, whether it's video games, whether it's other kind of modeling tools, whether it's creating content for TikTok. A lot of these have the same kind of they stimulate the same neurons in the brain for both kids and adults. So we're interested in how the idea that can expand beyond the brick. So moving all the way from kind of digital forms of building and creative play through to how can you make your own video games that you can share with others. And I think social play is a huge part of what we're looking into as well. All the way to how can we inspire kids to create and share their own stories and their own content in a safe and interesting way. So we're looking at companies and entrepreneurs that are trying to essentially create platforms and experiences that can do those things. So it really goes, it looks as the core Lego idea, then we try and expand beyond that.
I mean, it sounds like you are going way beyond the core Lego brick itself. When a lot of companies look at who should they invest in next, they've usually got an eye on how would that improve the core business that they currently have, or at least expand it slightly. But you seem to be going way out into the transformational, disruptive side of what innovation would be for the core business.
Yeah, and for that reason, we are. That's one of the reasons why we're separate from the core business. I think we do make investments on behalf of Lego as well. So one of the investments we've made is in a additive manufacturing company and try to innovate around 3D printing at scale, which is interesting to Lego. And that was something that was driven out of Lego. And the competencies that we have in investment meant that we were the right vehicle to do that investment. But they have a very tight, close collaboration with Lego. We also have other investments. We have investment in a game called Seed by a studio called Clang in Berlin, making a massively multiplayer online game around building up new kind of civilizations and settlements, and with all elements of creativity around, you can build your own city, design it how you want. It's very cool. It's very ambitious. And we believed it was really interesting, so we invested in it. There are still things that Lego can learn from that company, the way they develop digitally, their approach to creative in the digital space, and there are things that company can learn from Lego. How do you make a creative tool set for someone to use easily? How do you build a new brand from scratch? Lego has done that many times. So there is still kind of value exchange between the companies, even if they're not as close as, say, the 3D printing company will be to Lego. So my role, just to come back to the initial question around kind of value creation and value exchange, is to kind of be that conduit and be the glue that is acting between the portfolio companies and the Lego group, and making the right connections and exchanging that value in the right way.
It seems like the concept of value in this venture setup is a bit different than a lot of other corporate VCs. I assume your corporate due diligence and business case method probably looks a bit different than just return on investment.
Yeah, I mean, we still want to invest in companies that have a route to becoming a healthy business. So, we're not an impact investor. We are still someone who wants to do our due diligence around how a business wants to grow and give them as much chance to do that as possible. Having said that, we are certainly very patient capital, more patient than you would probably expect from a VC, and we have a longer roadmap and horizon that we're looking towards. And that, I think, is, again, hopefully attractive to some of the companies that we're looking at investing in. And yeah, you're right. Our strategic outlook is, how can we help these companies grow? What can Lego learn from them? Rather than, can we make a 10x on our investment in X amount of time and exit quickly?
What sort of appeals to you as a person assessing whether or not something's worth investing in? And let's say the combination between the idea itself and the team that's behind it.
I think it depends on the industry somewhat. So let's take gaming, for example. I think gaming is, more around the team that is in place. And gaming allows you to iterate fast and fail quickly and take learnings and spin up again. So yeah, there's a team. Obviously, we're looking at teams that have certain visions and genres of games they're interested in. We're not super into kind of battle royales or just hyper realistic first person shooters. But having said that, if we meet a team that has a really creative outlook and shares some of the values that Lego does, but they're not exactly operating in the genre space that we're interested in, then we would still be interested in investing in them. It's more about their resilience, their kind of ability to adapt, their understanding of what they want to achieve in the long run. I think that is really important. So I think the team is really important in gaming, because their first product and their first game is unlikely to be their kind of smash hit. I think in education, it's a little different. Education is often problems trying to be solved, gaps trying to be filled, and often that's a specific idea that either will fill that gap or it won't. Either the gap maybe doesn't exist, or someone will come along and do it better. So you still look at the team very much. You still have to have faith in the founder, and I think Lego is a company that's built on relationships as well and collaboration. It's a very Danish trait, and Lego Ventures is no different. So even in education, where probably the product and the platform is a little bit more important that you're investing in, the people side of it is really important. And I think that's similar across all VCs, actually. You have to build some trust and you have to have a good personal relationship. But I think with us, it's we're really looking closely at the founder and the team that are driving it, and saying, are these people that we believe share the same values as Lego in the future? And that's sometimes a little bit intangible, but it's something you feel very much when you're in the room with them.
One of the things I've really wanted to learn from Lego is obviously it's best known for its successes, and over the last couple of decades, there's been a lot of success with partnerships, especially with IP from Harry Potter, Star Wars, Minecraft. But there was also a time period where Lego invested in some ideas that are maybe 1 degree too far removed from its core business, and it nearly made the company go bankrupt. So I was just wondering, has that sort of constraint of innovation or lack of constraint of innovation had any impact on the way that you guys look at what you should invest in, what makes sense as a partnership, and what the sort of risk profile might be?
Yeah, I think that's it's an interesting question, and it's definitely something that is still very there in Lego, and people are very mindful of, is what happened, almost 20 years ago, where we did diversify very much from the core business. But I think the difference was that we diversified in the core business away from it. So it wasn't like a separate division. It wasn't something that was kind of a couple of steps removed from Lego. It was happening in the very core of the company, looking at TV series and movies when we didn't understand those industries. And we also, maybe weren't on top of our core business in the way we are now. And there are some very interesting books written about that time. And, our CEO who came in then, who's our chairman now, or has been until recently, he basically, he realized that we had a lot of complexity in our supply chain and our operations, which he also simplified. So there are many reasons why I think Lego was on the brink 20 years ago. And you're right, we are trying to build Lego Ventures in a way that takes learnings from that. So hence, outside of Lego, using the family funds rather than doing it on the balance sheet of the Lego group. And we are in a very different situation financially now than we were then. We've been very lucky to have so much growth over particularly the last 15 years. And that maybe has given us a more stable position to go and do these investments with less risk to the core business as well. So that way there is that kind of differentiation, and why Lego Ventures sits slightly outside as well. I think it's partly to do with that. But that means that, we also are aware of how quickly things can change. We're very lucky right now to have a successful product, and we've been very successful at using IPs to bring in new audiences to Lego, and innovation in our core product continues like a huge rapid pace, like most recently with Dots, which is like a fashion product basically, and my daughters love it. And also the kind of new Lego Mario that's been announced recently, which actually has physical Mario play built into the kind of play loop in it, which is just awesome. So there's huge innovation happening around the brick, as well as Lego integrating into growing in other markets, particularly China, but also other growth markets around the world. So that's great. But one thing we can't do is rest on our laurels and assume that that's the way it should be forever. So I think it's really important that Lego Ventures exists to explore kind of what happens outside the brick. And I think if you asked most people in Lego, what is the one company that you think Lego should have bought in the past or should have acquired, it's Minecraft. And there was no arm of Lego looking for the next Minecraft or the next kind of digital building system or anything like that, and now there is. So I think that is also comforting to the people that work at the company as well.
Rob, it's been wonderful speaking with you so far. We're coming up on time for the interview, but one last parting thought I'd like to get from you. Lego Ventures is now still very young, but has there been any learnings on what's working particularly well and things that you've already learned that you've improved along the way?
Yeah, I think, like you said, we're very young. We're still evolving. We probably, have we probably have a few more evolutions ahead of us before we're kind of like a fully evolved Pokemon. Sorry to use that metaphor. It seems like the right one though. But yeah, no, we've made a few missteps along the way. We've taken certain investments to our investment committee that have been like, this is far away from where you should be doing. There is, there's always the push and pull between how close should we be investing on behalf of Lego and how much should we be investing in the moonshots. And sometimes we get that wrong as well, and sometimes we need to readdress that balance and look at it. I think, the investments we've made so far, all of them exciting in different ways, and some of them are struggling during this current period as well. Some of them are really thriving in it, particularly the education focused ones that are supporting kind of kids and learning at home. This is a great opportunity, a moment for them in a very difficult situation. There could be some positive come out of it for them, which is great. But overall, I think, what we've really done is, I think the mistake we made was going too broad at the beginning. We were looking at all sorts of different spaces, like, financial services for kids, or, content companies and, things like that, where we've really realized we have to, in order to be excellent in what we will do, we need to narrow our field of focus somewhat and really understand where do we think we can make the difference in our investments. So that's what we've been doing. And that's why we're kind of honing in on areas like education and gaming as key areas that we think could be tied very closely to the future of Lego.
Fantastic. Rob, it's been wonderful speaking with you. If people want to find out more about you, Lego Ventures, the work that you do, or just your insights on how companies can improve their success rates with ventures and creativity and innovation, what's the best place they can go to find out more?
Yeah, we have a Lego Ventures website, legoventures.com. It's brand new. It's very nice. So you can go and visit that. And if you're an entrepreneur or startup, there is a way that you can submit that form, and we will get in contact with you. Also, on a personal level, I'm on LinkedIn. If you type Rob Lowe into Google, you'll find me on page 22, 23, obvious reasons. But on LinkedIn, I think I'm Rob Lowe 3, so or something like that. Anyway, but yeah, if you find there's only one Rob Lowe at Lego Ventures, so I'd be more than happy.
I'll make sure to get the right one linked down in the description below. Rob, it's been wonderful speaking with you, and I look forward to speaking again with you soon.
Thanks. Thank you, Nick. It's been great.
Thank you so much for listening. If you liked it, please like, share, and subscribe, and leave me a comment about what you thought and what you'd like to see more about. If you want to take your creativity and innovation capabilities to the next level, then invest in yourself with the premium training only available at ideatovalue.com. These exclusive training modules have all been put together by me, Nick Skillicorn, and have been used by thousands of artists, innovation leaders, and CEOs to become better at understanding the source of their creativity and executing on their innovation ambitions. And there is no risk to you, as they're backed by our money-back guarantee. Now, don't forget to go out there and make your ideas a reality. See you again soon.